Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Prep Report. Rich Estrella, along with Dan DeForest, Bob Gibson, and Randy Rosenblum. Our guest tonight is going to be Woody Grayson from Bellflower High School. He's the head coach. We'll check in with Woody in just a little bit. But right now, I just want to say hi to you guys. Everybody have a good week, or what's been going on with you guys out there? don't everybody speak up at once. Come on, Randy. I know you're chomping at the bit.
Yes, great week.
Good week.
Yeah, whatever. You guys are all full of it. You wouldn't tell me anyway if you had a bad one or not. It's kind of open. One of you guys would have had a bad week so I can get on you. Anyways, fellas, it looks like everybody's playing. Everybody's getting along. All the sports are kind of in full swing right now. We're going to televise some girls basketball next Wednesday night live here on LA 36. And football teams are playing, guys. Everybody seems to be doing just fine right now. Randy, what do you know? What do you say about LA?
Well, we had the one team play this week. That was Birmingham. The Patriots, they played yesterday, a rare Wednesday game, and lost at St. Bernard. They gave up 58 points and lost by 30. I think Birmingham's got two great players in Arliss Boardingham and Jeremiah Cox. Boardingham's a defensive end and also a tight end, caught a long touchdown in the game. And Cox, again, is another player that catches the ball and is a terrific player in the secondary as well. Birmingham isn't as strong as the team that we last saw when they won the championship in 2019. So that's what's happening in football. We have to wait for the rest of the teams to catch up on April 9th when the rest of the city really gets it going.
Hey, Randy, I got a...
He's got it already going with a very young football team there. Jackson Dadich is one of his quarterbacks who came in and threw 2 touchdowns, is the same Jackson Dadich who was the Birmingham quarterback that won the championship in 2019. So he came back to haunt his old school and old friends.
Yeah, isn't that something else? All right, continue on, Randy. What else you got?
A few other things. You know what's interesting is we're still waiting on indoor high school basketball in the LA City section. The southern section's going great guns, and that's wonderful to see. I think it's 50-50, Rich, whether we get the indoor basketball going in the LA City section. I know Buettner, the superintendent, wants to play basketball. He's still waiting to see if there's going to be a surge. He's waiting till after the spring break. Right now, I think they're leaning toward playing indoor basketball. And the other note I have for you in the city section, this is interesting. I don't think we're going to have a baseball championship at Dodger Stadium. I think they've changed it. It's a little out of their hands now with the Dodger Stadium and when it'll be available. Look for the higher seed in the baseball tournament to host the LA City section championship. No Dodger Stadium.
Really? Nowhere else to play?
It'll be at the higher city seeding. That's where the home team is.
You think they would go to UCLA or Dado Field at USC or something like, even Fullerton, Cal State Fullerton?
Yeah, that's always an option. But I think if you're looking from an expense standpoint, and you know they're not drawing a whole lot of fans anyway, and I'm sure by then in June they'll have some fans there. They can have it at the higher seed. If it's El Camino Real, if it's Chatsworth, if it's a Banning team that's got a great pitcher, or if it's San Pedro, any of those schools, they'll host. I think that would be very good. Why not? If you're not going to get Dodger Stadium, just let the higher seed host the event.
Yeah, my point is there's plenty of good universities in Southern California that'd be great to host, that Pepperdine, Loyola Marymount. I mean, Larry was saying that Fullerton would be off limits because it's in Orange County. I'd still play anyway. You know, it's
there's no question those are great sites.
Long Beach State, Blair Field. Yeah. Blair Field, you know, I mean, there's just tons of places. But interesting that it won't be held at Dodger Stadium. I think that's the last CIF event we were at in terms of championship.
It was.
It's been a couple of years almost now. It sucks. Anyways, let's go into Orange County. Bob, how's your week been? And what's been going on out there in the OC, my friend?
It's good. You know, I wanted to say off the top that you know everybody seems, all the schools and all the sports are all happening you know, in harmony. And I think that's a real testament to the athletic directors out there, because it really was on their shoulders to make this all work, right? To get the fields and the courts and everything where everybody had time to do their thing, and the practices. And so far it's been happening. I mean, everything I read, everything I hear is that everybody's getting their time and everybody seems happy with how it's all working out. So I really think that's big kudos to the athletic directors everywhere that have been pulling this off.
It's very commendable, Bob, in a number of areas. But when you look at the way they've been administrating their way through. It's been pretty good because I haven't heard any major complaints from everybody. I think everybody is just happy as heck that they're back out on the field. They're competing. And we're going to hear more from that from Woody Grayson right now. But yeah, I think they're just happy as hell just to be out there. Whether or not there's a championship at the end of the rainbow, I don't think anybody cares, man. I mean, if I'm a football player, I'm just happy to strap it on one more time, especially if I'm not that D1 guy or D2 guy or even a JC guy. Trust me, there's a lot of guys that shouldn't be playing football after high school.
Yeah, no, true. So football, I'll talk about football a little bit, but let me talk about baseball really quick first because it's been a good start to the season for Jay Serra, which I think was one of the top-ranked teams in the nation, not just in Southern California, but in the entire nation. Jay Serra Lions, Brett Kay down there always has a great program. We know Orange Lutheran's really good. All the schools in the Trinity are always towards the top. Bosco with their head coach Don Barbara, but Jay Serra, even though they started off, they lost up at Harvard Westlake, but it's been a good start to the season for them. I look for them to get stronger and stronger. I think they really are the team to beat, whatever that means. Going forward as far as the schedule. The baseball, I think, is one of the few sports that's going to get pretty much a full schedule in. I don't know what kind of championship we get at the end of that either, but I think baseball will at least get the championship. But I'm surprised at this point you haven't brought up the Servite Bosco game, Rich, because I think that's
I was
from a week ago. Maybe.
I was going to say that because I don't want to say I told you so, but I told all you guys that I just don't think Servite's ready to take the Trinity. Do you realize? Okay, in the last 15 years, Mater Dei has won 5 Trinity League titles. Bosco has won 5 Trinity League titles. Servite has won the other 5 Trinity League titles. Nobody else has been able to step up. Not even that Rancho Santa Margarita team that was being touted as one of the best football teams of all time that I believe beat Lattiser's team. It was Bellarmine Prep up north. I mean, they didn't even win league that year. Servite won league that year. So what I'm trying to say is, it's a dead heat right now, but I just don't see, because in the last 10 years, in the last 10 years, Servite is the only team that has disrupted either Mater Dei or Bosco dominating the Trinity League. So I just cannot see Servite getting there yet. I don't know what's going to go on in the future, if they have some more kids coming in or what, but Troy Thomas is getting pretty close. I mean, 10-point game with the current, the former reigning national, I was going to say reigning national champ performer, but that's all under the water now. It's now ING Academy. But the bottom line is, it's probably going to be Mater Dei Bosco or Bosco Mater Dei going to win league again this year now that Servite's lost to Bosco.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, it will come down to 3 weeks from now when we get that Mater Dei Servite matchup. And, curiously enough, you're right. Orange Lutheran, I think it was 2005 when they won their state title. So it's been that long for Orange. They've had a really good team. Jay Serra's never really gotten over the top. They've come close a couple of times. You just talked about Santa Margarita with of course Johnny Stanton. They made their run to a state championship, and they've had their time there. Carson Palmer certainly in these years in Santa Margarita in the mid '90s. That was a good run for Santa Margarita. But you're right. I mean, it's Mater Dei, it's Bosco. Servite comes in and out and does things once in a while. But, I mean, right now it's just Mater Dei and Bosco. Those two teams are not only the best in Southern California, but 2 best teams nationally. And
bottom line is,
I don't see it changing. Do you? Do you see it
no,
really changing?
The bottom line is this league, and just say for the last decade, has been Mater Dei Bosco League. That's what it's been. Yeah. And Orange Lutheran's been the only team other than Servite to unseat one of these two teams as the champ. And this year it's probably going to go to Mater Dei. I know they got a freshman quarterback. I know they got a freshman running back. Don't matter those guys. Their line is so good. Bob, you could play back there right now and look like an All-American. I'm serious. Bob good. Bob's got an arm on him.
They're creating.
It wasn't like that game was a blowout. St. John Bosco was trailing Servite at halftime. Bosco wore them down a little bit and had to make a couple crucial 4th down plays in the 4th quarter, or Servite might have won the game. Troy Thomas has really got it going. You're right. Bosco's a little bit stronger. They were a little bit more physical up front. It's going to be interesting now. Servite has to come back and play Mater Dei this weekend.
Good luck.
Last weekend. That'll be interesting.
I'm telling you, that front line is ridiculous, man. Were you going to say something, Dan?
Yeah, I was saying that, just like what Randy was saying. That was a difference maker. They wore him down. that's just a big front line. And then
They're pros.
You know, it's really tough. They had them had halftime, and then they just kind of gave up the lead. It was just too strong, too tough. So.
Yeah, in the second half, I mean, Bosco's got the same situation. They got a good offensive line too. They just have a good team.
Not big enough.
Period, top to bottom. But they're going to wear you down. Their line play will wear you down in the second half. And if you don't have horses that can interchange and come in and out and give people a blow here and there, they're just going to wear you down. You're just hanging on, and that's why they beat you. You know. But we'll see what happens. That Mater Dei Bosco matchup's going to be good this year. Hey, let's bring in Woody Grayson right now. Let him see what he's got to say about some of this stuff. Woody, how you doing tonight? This is Woody Grayson, head coach, Bellflower High.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me tonight.
All right, Woody. Woody, let's ask you. It's such a weird deal this year. I mean, you've been involved in football all your life, and boy, I bet you never thought you would see something like this.
I don't think any of us, thought that something like this would ever happen. I mean, you set your calendar by the football season. You plan your life around it. You expect your summers to go a certain way, the fall to go a certain way, the Christmas time to go a certain way. Nobody ever expects to be playing tackle football in the middle of spring right now. So it's very different. And there's no way in my lifetime I ever thought that I would see something like this.
So what's the biggest challenge been for you, Woody, this season? There's been so many ups and downs. You might play, you might not play. Maybe it's December, and okay, January, and now here we are in March, and you guys just barely got the okay to go. But what's that struggle been like for you guys?
Well, a lot of things. We were getting into our off season when everything shut down in March, and not having the kids around. We couldn't get on campus. We weren't allowed to work out with them at all. So we really didn't see them all spring. We didn't see them all summer. We received late word that we'd be able to practice in the fall, but then the numbers, the COVID numbers spiked, and we had to shut it down. And so we didn't see the kids again. We let them loose again in November. And to be honest with you, we were kind of expecting things to stay the same. We really didn't expect that we would get back on the field. And, all of a sudden things changed as far as what the criteria was to get back in practice. And so, we were kind of scrambling there, trying to let the kids know what was going on and trying to get information from the district as to what we could do. So it all just happened really, really fast. All of the off-season calendars that you're used to running and having the time to really to install things and get kids prepared, it just all happened in a hurry. So we 2 weeks, and then we were on the field playing a game. So it was just, we're still swimming a little bit, but, it's great for the kids, especially for the seniors, to have an opportunity to get back on the field in practice situations and be around their coaches and their teammates and friends, and actually get on the field Friday nights and have their parents watch them one more time.
Do you have to share athletes right now with others? Are they letting you do that yet? You got any Bo Jacksons on your team or Deion Sanders types? I mean,
If I had Bo Jackson, Rich, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a couple of kids that are playing soccer as well as football. They're both, kickers and receivers. So we're sharing those two kids. Other than that, the rest of our kids are just football kids.
Yeah. Because it could be challenging. I read somewhere in the state was going to relax the constraints and let kids play in, dual sports during this year, because everybody's playing right now in the spring. Everybody just kind of got thrown in, and I just wondered because we have talked about the smaller schools being the ones that are going to be hurt the most by that rule.
And I'm sure it was. I have a couple of buddies that I was formerly at Valley Christian, and I have some buddies that still coach there, and they basically had to shut their football season down because all of their kids, play multiple sports.
Right,
and
they
so
have to.
Those guys, they shut football down so the kids could move on to the basketball season and baseball and the other sports. So, yeah, it's been difficult for the smaller schools that, we share our athletes. And, right now, we're playing probably with about 25, 26 kids that are actually getting on the field on Friday nights. And that's not uncommon for the opponents that we're playing. Gar, I believe they only have about 26, 27 athletes as well, and we play them this Friday. So we're all in the same boat. You guys were having a conversation earlier about Bosco and Mater Dei and the Trinity League. That's a different world compared to what we, you look at those. I looked at Bosco So right after I got home, I reported the game, and I just looked at all those bodies on the sideline. And then I watched our game later that night and looked at the fewer bodies that we had on the sideline.
Yeah.
So it's tougher for us, but it's what we do. We love to do it. We don't complain about how many guys or what type of guys. You just go in and you coach and you give kids a chance to just enjoy themselves and to better themselves as athletes. But more importantly, we try to grow these young boys into young men. So it's a labor of love. But what else would we do as coaches? You can only fish so often. You can only play so much golf. So this is just what.
Yeah, well, there's some people in here that wouldn't complain about all that golfing, trust me. Anybody else got a question for the coach? Yeah, not you.
Yeah.
But you can only go out and shoot 120 so many times before you have to do something else.
Exactly.
Coach, I got a question for you.
Yes,
I
sir.
think to the freshmen a year ago that lost their first year of high school football, now they're sophomores. Is it harder on a kid like that who missed that first whole year of development versus a kid who maybe is a senior or junior this year and already had a couple of years in your program?
Well, and especially for us, because we don't tend to get a lot of kids that have played youth level football. So that freshman year is very critical to teach these guys all of the things that they didn't get coming up through grade school. So it sets the sophomore class back that they didn't have that first year of really learning on how to block, how to tackle, how to hit the ground, how to, they also lost, more importantly, a year in the weight room. So it's a setback for these kids, but, I'm a firm believer that kids are resilient. The more you ask of them, the more they'll give you, and, they'll find a way to catch up by their senior year.
I got a question for you as well.
Yes.
It is a different year. We're talking about spring football. Normally, you want to play your seniors and give them an opportunity. But since it's spring and you're looking ahead to the fall, how do you substitute? Who do you want to play? Do you want your young guys to perform, or do you still want to give way to the seniors?
Tough balance. I think we are always going to go with you put the best players on the field. The guys that have earned it, regardless of grade or class, those are going to be your frontline guys. But you don't also want to have a senior just sitting on the sideline the entire game. Fortunately and unfortunately for me, after COVID, we only had 9 seniors return. So it isn't hard to get all of those guys on the field. They were all probably starters anyway, so that hasn't been a problem for me. But you try to play the best kids, and fortunately for us, a lot of our better players are younger players.
Has it been hard to get your offense in a rhythm, with not having as much practice time and getting in the game and getting them working together?
Yeah, that's been real tough. Offensively, it's always behind the defense. And no matter how simple you keep it, just, getting the snap from center, handing the ball off, throwing passes, and having the quarterbacks and receivers on the same page sometimes can be tough. So we've had a really slow start offensively. Because of those things. Fortunately, we haven't had too many administrative issues where we have guys jumping off sides or a lot of holding penalties, but it's just the rhythm for our offense has just been really off. And, you see signs and it's just, it's hard to be consistent, but that's definitely been a challenge for us on the offensive side this year.
Well, like you said, everybody's in this boat right now, Woody, and it's been a very strange boat. We've been covering sports here for a long time, and I never thought I would see this, man, ever.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just kind of you set your life to your football calendar, and you kind of sit around, and fortunately for us, there was a good and a bad side to this. Obviously, the scheduling and all of the are we going to play and not going to play, those things were tough, but. We took advantage of the downtime as a coaching staff. We reevaluated everything that we were doing offensively and made some changes that we felt better suited our personnel. And then when we shut down again, we made some more changes and modifications to what we were doing defensively. So what you try to do is simplify things so that the kids can play fast and not do a whole lot of thinking. And I think we're there right now, but we're just not seeing the fruits of that just yet. But again, like you guys mentioned earlier, not only are we trying to get our seniors some time on the field right now, but we are also looking forward to the 21 season and preparing that way as well.
You know what? You've been around a long time. You know, you got quite a few CIF rings. When you were one of the main cogs in the wheel at Mayfair, you're a right-hand man over there. You won a lot of rings. You know, do you talk a lot to your colleagues in the area still, and kind of see what they're doing? And have you been able to garner any ideas? Do you guys bother sharing that? Is this kind of like a best kept secret or something, so nobody gets the edge?
Well, fortunately, you know, the guys in my coaching circle are all great guys, and I have, you know, guys that are in the Inland Empire. Daryl Turner used to play for me at Mayfair, and he's the head coach out at Murrieta Mesa. And we talk all the time, and I talk with his offensive coordinator. I talk with the Downey coaches all the time because there's some crossover there, and even the Valley Christian coaches. I'm still very close with some of the guys on the Mayfair staff, so you know, it's a fraternity, it's a brotherhood, and you know, a lot of these guys that you first cut your teeth into coaching with, you go to all the coaching clinics and you hang out and you talk football and you talk life, and so it isn't strange to just reach out to a guy that you haven't talked to in a year or 2 years, and you just share information and help each other. So fortunately, my circle is very tight that way, and they reach out to me and I reach out to them all the time. So yeah, we share ideas all the time.
Woody, here's a question most coaches don't like to hear it at this juncture, but I'm going to ask you, what do you expect going forward? I'm not talking about this season. I'm talking about coming back in the fall. What do you expect?
We're young, which is a good thing for us. We're young at a lot of the right spots. So, you know, this is kind of for the young guys, it's basically a padded spring football. So I expect us to come into the season next year, which will be the last year of the Suburban League as it's currently constructed. So I expect us to come in a lot stronger. We'll have an off season in the weight room. The kids can have a better idea of what we're trying to do with the new direction offensively and defensively. And I expect us to be very competitive as we get ready to move into the conference model along with the San Gabriel Valley League. So in the 22 season, it'll be ourselves, Gar, Norwalk, Linwood, Dominguez, and then, you know, Mayfair, Downey, and all those guys will be on a different side of the conference. So I expect things to change for us. I expect us to be competitive, and I expect us to continue to grow the program and go in the right direction. And I expect that we have an outside shot at, you know, winning, being one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the league and definitely getting into the playoffs in fall.
That's going to be a crazy league right there. I'm going to tell you right now, combining some of the San Gabriel Valley with the Suburban, man. Holy
the top
smoke.
end of the Suburban and the top end of the San Gabriel Valley is going to be a monster.
It will be. It'll be interesting.
It's going to be on a rotating basis, so we'll have a chance to earn our way into that top tier. But you know, it's going to be a monster. It'll be fun to see.
Coach, are you working right now, expecting to play in the fall? I mean, everything will be status quo. Won't have spring ball because you're having it now, but you'll have summer workouts before you get into August.
Yeah, you know, and obviously all of this is, you know, kind of out of our hands. You know, the Department of Public Health, you know, what they decide we do. But I fully expect, with the way things are going and the numbers, I fully expect us to have a full season. Come fall, I expect things to be back to pretty much normal. Obviously, kids are getting back on the campus in some degree, you know, in our community and all the others. So I just have a feeling that by the fall, things will be more normalized, and you know, we'll be able to just start our fall camp and get right on into regular business.
All right. Anybody else got any questions for Coach before we hit him up for about Tom Brady and Ronda Rousey and all that stuff?
Well, the only other question I would ask is, he's obviously in Bellflower, and that's the home of St. John Bosco. How do you build your brand with a school like that in your neighborhood?
Obviously, you know, Bosco hasn't always been on top. You know, in my years at Mayfair, we actually played Bosco, and, you know, we were successful one year and not successful the next. Everything is cyclical. You have to, number one, control the business on your campus. So we have to do a better job of developing the guys that we have here. You know, when Bosco was first starting to rise, so to speak, we were losing kids to Bosco, but that's not happening right now. So the kids that we have, you know, we just have to hold on to. Obviously, we have to get a greater turnout on our campus, develop our kids, take care of our business. We don't need to try to be Bosco because we don't play their schedule. Right now, what we need to do is try to be the best Bellflower team that we can be year after year. And just like at Mayfair, you know, when I got to Mayfair with Fitch, you know, coming from Whittier and that run we had out there, Mayfair was the laughing stock, you know, and it was a slow build, and you build your brand just by taking care of business on the campus. And, you know, right now, Mayfair is kind of self-contained, and no discredit to the coach that's there now. Derek Goodell does a great job, and he and I are good friends, and we get along well. But, you know, he was once here at Bellflower, and we kind of both believe the same thing. Take care of business on your campus, and everything else will follow.
Yeah, and you guys had that model back when you took over Mayfair. Mayfair, you know, they were like 0-10 every year, but they had 11 homecoming games on their schedule, you know.
Exactly. Everybody's on that.
Even the scrimmage, they try to sneak in a homecoming ceremony during when they were scrimmaging people, just so they could be guaranteed to win. But you guys went in there and started punching out all the big guys. You guys are playing, you know, the Boscos, playing the Paramounts. I mean, you guys are playing everybody in town. I even think you guys had Mater Dei on your schedule at one point or something. It was crazy.
You know, and that was, you know, Fitch's motto was, you know, obviously you want to take care of your campus, but then he said, you know, let's defend our borders. And so any city that touched ours or any school that touched ours, you know, we wanted to play them. So, you know, Poly at that time was tough. We played Poly.
Lakewood.
Played them competitively. Los Altos at that time was tough. So we didn't back down from anybody. You slowly grow your program, and then you take your shots. And, you know, eventually people start to look at you differently, and kids start showing up just because, you know, you're playing all the biggest and best guys. So we'll get there. You know, we're slowly changing the culture, but we'll get there. It's just going to take some time.
Yeah, most definitely. Woody, we really appreciate you coming in tonight, talking to us about your program. We'll be doing some more of that in the future. Guys, we just got a couple minutes left. Randy, you got anything to close out with?
Yeah, I just think it's great that 3 players from the CIF Southern section in basketball are going to go to the NBA next year. Josh Christopher, who went to Arizona State, he was from Mayfair, and the 2 players from Sierra Canyon, BJ Boston, who went to Kentucky, he's declared for the draft, as has Zaire Williams, who was at Sierra Canyon, went to Stanford for 1 year. He's going to be in the draft. 3 players from our last basketball season in the Southern section going to the draft.
All right, what about you? Here's a guy over here next to me. Dan applies for the draft every year, never gets selected, but he's always in the hopper. Dan, what is your closing remark?
Oh, yeah. No, I think that's great that he's building his program through the weight room, building it on campus, taking care of business, and that's where you win on the front lines.
Absolutely.
Building athletes and coaching them up. So I really like to hear that.
Bob?
How about West Coast College basketball? SC made the grade 8, UCLA in the Final Four, and a shout out to Johnny Juzang and Jake Kyman, of course, Santa Margarita. Those 2 kids get to play in the Final Four for UCLA, a couple of local kids from around the area. So West Coast basketball alive and well. You keep those kids here. Don't let them go to Kentucky and Duke and all those other places. Keep
It
them here in
came
Southern
out of
California.
nowhere. And congrats to Jared Lucas, Oregon State.
Yeah.
He did nothing to hurt his brand.
Right. Lucas was the greater. Right. Oregon State was there.
Yep.
And don't forget Cody Riley of UCLA, too. Sierra
Right.
Canyon.
Yep. Right.
And we'll see what happens with the Bruins this weekend, guys. Woody, thanks for joining us again. On behalf of Woody
Thanks, guys.
Grayson, Dan
Thanks for
DeForest, Bob Gibson, and Randy Rosenbaum, I'm Rich Estrella, saying so long from your friends here at the SoCal Prep Report. We'll see you again live next week. Thank you for joining us.